Well, we just finished Uber's Q3 2024 earnings call, and like DoorDash, there's a lot of takeaways for you as the gig worker. And for Uber, starting with, unsurprisingly, you're making more money. Again, every time Uber says something like supporting earners, and this is for this most recent quarter, during the quarter, earnings are up 14% year over year, 20% on a constant currency basis, now with 18.1 billion earned. And keep in mind, the number of Uber drivers, couriers, and in this call, Uber CEO Dara Khosrowshahi specifically also included shoppers in this demographic here. It's at 7.8 million drivers, couriers, and shoppers. But yeah, we hear something from Uber basically every single time on every single earnings call about earnings going up. So let's ignore that for now and go over actually the most concrete things that were said on this call. Well, number one, good news. If you're in a smaller marketplace, you might have more opportunities in 2025. Uber says, quote, "We are taking a more active approach to unlocking less dense suburban and secondary marketplaces in both the US and abroad." And interestingly, Dara did say they're seeing growth, really surprisingly, possibly outpacing larger or core marketplaces. 60 to 70% of the marketplace is actually non-core customers, non-larger metro areas, and again, growing faster than city centers. Dara forecasted that as kind of a tailwind of growth for the company. So in Q4 and in 2025 at large, we're going to see if you drive and work in smaller marketplaces, might there be more and more customers using that platform every single month that aren't in the city center. Speaking of, on the mobility side, Rideshare, Uber's seeing gross bookings growing across most use cases with strength in weekday and airport trips. But maybe your weekdays are slow, maybe your mornings are slow. If you do Rideshare as well, there might be an opportunity there. But remember I told you specifically if you're in suburban markets, secondary, tertiary markets, that Uber's showing the monthly active platform consumers, or MAPCs, are continually growing. We can see that here in the top line, quarter over quarter, those monthly active platform consumers are growing. This quarter showing a 13% MAPC growth year over year. And they're actually taking more trips as well on the rideshare front, up 4%. But let's turn our attention away from mobility and the grocery and overall macro of new verticals, grocery and retail, because there is something that Dara directly said about what's coming on the Uber platform. Dara was asked about their partnership approach and just going into new verticals and talking about what they call just business adjacencies, different related business opportunities. Dara mentioned that Uber will seek to experiment. I mean, they started with food delivery and then grocery, but more in the macro, they'll look at any deeper opportunities into any and all local retail opportunities. That's something that I've been tracking really since both DoorDash and Uber got into the grocery space. That yes, it started with Uber's case, rideshare, food delivery, but more and more we're seeing new verticals like grocery. And the company actually cited that specifically in their supplementary info. Grocery and retail merchant selection. Expanded our merchant selection in the US and Canada with both grocers, including H Mart and Food City, as well as non-grocery retailers like Spirit Halloween, Michaels, JD Sports, and Pet Supplies Plus. And this is on top of metrics that show delivery gross bookings grew 17% year over year on a constant currency basis for the fourth consecutive quarter. And then, quote, on the supply side, active merchant growth accelerated to 16% year over year. So what does that mean for you as an Uber courier? So when I'm on the road, specifically, yes, Q4 2024, but really into 2025 here, and you're on the road as well, I'm forecasting something similar to what I've said about DoorDash. Yes, personally, I preferred food delivery. You can let me know down below. What do you prefer? And Uber does have the trip filter preferences option, just like DoorDash has Dasher preferences. But you will continue to see in 2025 expansion, possibly accelerated more so than just the core business of food delivery, growth in grocery, retail, convenience, and alcohol. The challenge comes, of course, like any offer, the pay, the mileage, and specifically the time for any shops. We have a portfolio of different options now, more so than ever. But is the pay going to be worth it for you as a driver and or shopper? Continuing on this call here, something that was also directly cited on DoorDash's front. So this is something that's coming to the surface as we reach into 2025 and beyond. That is autonomous, possibly autonomous delivery, but also autonomous mobility and rideshare. Now, right now, Uber's deployment of autonomous vehicles, it's only in 2 cities. And Dara was asked that, why aren't you expanding in about 20 cities? And he cited cost efficiencies with mapping different cities, operational restrictions. But there is some new news in the autonomous space on Uber, specifically mobility now. They say, quote, "We've expanded our partnership with autonomous company Waymo to bring autonomous ride hailing to Austin and Atlanta in early 2025. Now that's piggybacking on their partnership with 14 autonomous companies, saying, quote, "We also added 5 new AV autonomous vehicle partnerships, Cruise, Coco, Wavy, WeRide, and AV Ride or AvRide." If nothing tells you that Uber's leaning into autonomous, maybe a little different than DoorDash, where DoorDash's CEO Tony Xu cited the last 10 feet, operational difficulties, transportation is easier, but handing off that product, let's say food delivery, it is harder in the last 10 feet. We're talking here with Uber about mobility and rideshare. And again, partnering with 14 autonomous vehicle companies certainly means that AV options in the rideshare space at least are not going away. But even Dara said, at least on a preliminary basis, it's almost too soon to tell the traction, adoption rates, success of autonomous right now in the Phoenix, Arizona marketplace. But Dara did say that customers that do take those autonomous Waymo rides, they're rating those rides highly, that the experience is, quote, terrific. And autonomous is, again, something they're going to look at not only domestically, but internationally as well. And then lastly, a category that I briefly touched on already, but more so on the macro, just the overall shop and deliver. So that could be shopping for grocery, convenience, alcohol, whatever it is. That is also something that's not going to go away here. Courier Pick and Pack expansion. Launched Courier Pick and Pack as a new earnings type in Japan in partnership with Aeon, one of Japan's largest retailers, allowing Uber couriers to shop for Uber Eats consumers at retailers and deliver orders to their home. Let me know what marketplace you're in, but it says Courier Pick and Pack is also available in the US, Canada, Australia, and the majority of Latin American markets. So shop and deliver is also something they're continuing to expand. So in summary here, and an initial verdict of what you might look for as an Uber driver on mobility or courier on Uber Eats in Q4 2024 and 2025. No explicit mention of driver earnings, pay, incentives. Even DoorDash was asked at the very end of their quarterly earnings call about driver incentives. Nothing explicitly here. And honestly, even less in their supplementary info and prepared remarks. What I would forecast, though, is a continuing slower, I think, a softening of the taper, not as steep of a taper as we saw from 2020 going out of the pandemic into, let's say, 2022, mid 2023. I think we'll see a softening of that tapering of bonus pay. I think volume will continue to go up. We're seeing more merchants, more consumers, so you might have more order choice. I think we're going to see the continued expansion and experimentation of earnings modes, specifically flat rates. We've seen a lot of success on DoorDash's Earn by Time. A lot of Dashers are liking that, or they're at least utilizing it to a degree. I'm anticipating we're going to see 20 to 50 marketplaces get flat rates in Q4 or 2025. I think the volume is a good thing. It'll give you even more orders to just pick the best ones for you, honestly, and multi-apping between all these apps. If you do like shop and deliver, I'll say there's probably an opportunity for you. If you like the shopping, using your Plus card, if you're efficient in stores, then I think you might have some stronger headwinds in Q4 or 2025. But let me know what you think here. A continued focus on retail, but also kind of a blossoming and focusing on smaller marketplaces, which might help drivers and couriers in those secondary and tertiary markets. But of course, the continued pressure of cost savings, driver earnings, albeit possibly more volume to pick from. What do you think Uber needs to change, update, or what should they introduce for you as a driver on mobility or as a courier on Uber Eats?